The NBA's Development League, previously known as the D-League and now called the G-League, has always been an important place for developing young players, particularly late draft pick rookies who need to earn their way into the rotation at the NBA level. However, in more recent years, we've seen the G-League become a go-to spot for a lot of players, whether that be players returning from injury, former NBA veterans trying to work their way back into the league, or rookies aiming to gain some further experience. This is mainly due to the improvement in overall skill level and competitiveness in the G-League, as well as a sudden spike in young NBA players, in particular, returning from the G-League and dominating on the NBA court, seeming like future all-stars rather than just solid players. Jordan Poole, Kevin Porter Jr., Brandon Boston. These are just some recent examples of players who were sent down to the G-League and have returned, playing easily the best basketball of their short careers. So, what's causing this, and why does this make the G-League so important for the future? I'll be covering that and more in today's video. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more NBA content like this, I'm trying to reach 18,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we are so close to that goal, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about the NBA G-League. Firstly, let's discuss some of the positive effects the G-League has on young NBA players, in particular, the ones that are struggling at an NBA level. The G-League provides these young players with often a lot of increased playtime, with them normally starting. This therefore gives them further experience at a level similar to the NBA, which they wouldn't be able to get normally at the NBA level if they're behind some better players or are starting to fall out of the rotation. For NBA coaches, this is extremely important, as it allows for the players to have more opportunity to display their skills to the highest level to them, enabling the coaches to better understand these young players' strengths and weaknesses, and overall, how they could be better utilized if brought back up to the NBA stage. One player where this instance notably occurred was with Jordan Poole. Initially at Golden State, the Warriors utilized Poole in a role as a spot-up shooter, which doesn't really suit his talents. As a result, Poole struggled shooting the ball in his rookie season and lost confidence, shooting under 30% from the field in his first 2 months in the league. Last season, after continuing to play mediocre in that said role, Golden State sent him down to the G-League, where as a starter, he was given the keys to the offense of the Warriors affiliate team, Santa Cruz. Poole was amazing in turn, averaging 23 points per game, and it became clear to the Warriors' NBA coaching staff that to maximize his talents, Poole needs the ball in his hands. If he is the guy playmaking and creating shots for himself off of the dribble, his confidence skyrockets, and it gives him the poise to make and hit shots for himself and create looks for his teammates. So, now knowing this, Poole came back to the NBA level and got placed into a better role, leading the second unit of Golden State as a ball handler and playmaker. And since returning from the G-League on March 1st, 2021, and entering that better role for him individually, Poole had a 38-point performance, 4 games scoring 20-plus points, and another 5 games where he scored 15 or more points at the end of last season. A crazy turnaround from where he was. That form continued even further into this season, with Poole currently averaging a career-high 18 points per game and 3 assists on a Golden State team looking to make a championship run. The extra experience in the G-League is not just important for the coaches though, it's also obviously extremely important for the players. Again, especially those young ones that have struggled initially at the NBA level. The G-League provides them a space where they can play at a similar level of intensity to the NBA against other NBA caliber talent, but this time have more opportunity to play at that level of intensity consistently. Obviously, it's not the exact same, but it's still similar to a certain degree, especially in recent years as the quality of talent in the G-League has notably gone up. That's providing some major benefits to these young guys, even more benefits than what they would have had, say, 5 to 10 years ago. As the saying goes, experience can sometimes be the best form of development, and for a lot of young players lately, that couldn't be more true with their time in the G League. Two players in particular that I think exemplify this reason of importance is Brandon Boston of the LA Clippers and Josh Christopher of the Houston Rockets. Both players initially struggled to begin their rookie season, not in the rotation consistently and really only playing garbage time. But since going down to the G League, spending time there and coming back up, they've been able to transition to the NBA level a lot smoother than they had at the start of the season. With their development there, they became more familiar with the pace and the physicality of the NBA, and in turn, have been playing at a much higher standard. Brandon Boston, for one, was averaging just 3 points per game on terrible efficiency before his time in the G League. After being recalled back up though, he's averaging closer to 12 points per game on great efficiency of around 51% from the field. Josh Christopher was barely in the rotation for the Rockets to begin the season, as Silas figured things out with a very new and young core of players. After dominating the G League, where he averaged 22 points, 6 rebounds and 6 assists, he's made an immediate impact for Houston since being recalled, playing 20 minutes a night regularly, where he rarely got above 10 beforehand. He's also had multiple games scoring in double digits as well, including an 18-point outing on his 20th birthday, where he didn't miss a shot on 7 attempts and helped propel Houston to an upset win over Brooklyn. These are just two examples that indicate how imperative the G League has become for developing young NBA talent, as these guys are now filled with confidence and are on track to be in their respective teams' rotations for the long term. Speaking of confidence, another positive effect that time in the G League has is it builds up a young player's confidence to get them mentally ready to play at a high level of basketball again in the NBA. Sometimes a player's shooting woes can be purely mental, or they're just not enjoying basketball as much as they normally are. So by dropping them to a lower quality of basketball competition, a player can find their form and return to the NBA with more confidence. For example, this could be particularly important for a player coming off an injury. This has enabled a lot of struggling young players lately to bounce back, like Jordan Poole, as I mentioned before. But an example I think is a great one here is Kevin Porter Jr. After being traded from Cleveland to Houston, KPJ had some off-court issues affecting his play. He wasn't happy, didn't seem to be enjoying his basketball in Cleveland, and his confidence was low after falling completely out of the Cavs rotation. After joining Houston, the Rockets almost immediately sent him to the G League, which a few people questioned at the time, but I believe this was a brilliant idea from the Rockets, and that turned out to be right. For one, it gave them an idea on the type of player KPJ could be for them once they brought him back up to the NBA, which I talked about before being a positive impact of the G League. But secondly, and more importantly here, it allowed Porter to refine his love and confidence for the game of basketball. It seems he's had so much fun with basketball since joining the Rockets, and personally, I'd attribute that a lot to his time in the Rockets development team. As for his time in the G League, KPJ averaged 24 points, 7.3 assists, and 6.4 rebounds per game. And now, that's led to him being a consistent double-digit scorer for the Rockets, as well as a much improved playmaker. Though he's obviously not a star yet, he's got the potential, and the difference in his play and impact is completely different from his time in Cleveland. Obviously, not all of this is from the G League, but I don't think he makes quite the immediate impact for Houston or has that 50-point game last season without that time there. Porter is just one of the poster examples of how the G League can turn a player's slump around by building confidence, and I'm sure there are many more to come in the future. Overall, the G League is becoming a more and more popular stop for young NBA players and players returning from injury, and is continuing to prove to be an important place for them to develop their games. Now I get it. That's what the NBA's development league is literally meant to do. But it seems in recent years to me that the G League has become far more impactful on young guys and their improvements. It wasn't often in the past we'd see a young player come out of the development league and play like a future stud. but that's what's happening so often nowadays with the G League. Notably with the recent breakouts of Josh Christopher and Brandon Boston this year, and of course the two major breakouts from Jordan Poole and KPJ last season. It's a pathway young players are more willing to take on to improve their games. Just recently, for example, James Wiseman stated that he'd love to start in the G League in his return from injury and then make his way back up to the Warriors NBA rotation. So it's clear to see that the G League has now become as vital as it ever has for NBA teams and their rosters. I think it's fair to say that we're going to continue to see cases like Jordan Poole, Brandon Boston, etc. down the track in the NBA, as the G League continues to make young guns legitimate NBA stars through their development processes. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.